welcome to another episode of Allegiant Elite Motorsports. I'm your host Isaiah, and today what we're going to do is we're going to take out that transmission and prep and get ready to install that transmission. We're going to try to squeeze in as much as possible, so let's get started. Okay, so we started by ripping out the center pieces. Luckily this one didn't break, at least not too much. And then you take this out. There's 2 screws back here, 2 screws up here, then 2 screws underneath that. Then you take out the bolts for the shifter, which you can see right here. Unplug everything for the shifter, which you can see right there. And then that's it for the inside. This is ready to come out. Can you see? And then we can take it from there, and everything else is pretty much bottom side. So we're gonna go down there and start pulling down the transmission, and we should be good to go. All right, so
yes sir,
we got the
Mr. Alex in the house.
Word right there, shirt naked. So we got the
It's really hot.
Flywheel cover off, we got the drive shaft down, and now we're taking off the bolts for the transmission, the flywheel flex plate. I'm pretty sure I do. There should be like 3 of them to the right of the car. Okay, so after you get the flex plate bolts out, now you're able to remove the transmission. Those 2 lines there are the transmission cooler, which we're not going to need anymore, so we can take those off, including the transmission, of course. And then, yeah, we'll be good. Okay, so we ended up removing the oil cooler now, since we're not going to be driving the car until we swap it to manual. So this is the oil cooler that was in it, and we're going to remove all of the lines, 12 millimeters here, 12 millimeters back here on that bracket, and then this doesn't fit through this hole without turning it sideways, so we're just going to cut it here. And then if you do end up running automatic, which I don't see why you would, you can run custom lines instead of these old tiny rusty lines. So yeah,
Remind me a little bit.
okay, transmission is out, and immediately first issue we run into is the fact that the drive shaft is completely different. So we have to source out another one. I completely forgot and dropped the ball about that. So the actual cuff fits onto this perfectly, and it's machined onto the drive shaft. The one that is on the manual transmission is a collar that just covers it and keeps it from flying out anywhere. So here is the drive shaft, and this is the collar that tight fits over the automatic transmission. And the splines on the inside have a factory missing tooth and are completely different than the manual. So we're gonna have to source one of those out. Here's the manual, and you could visually see the difference. And this one has no missing tooth on here at all. So yep, so we're gonna go ahead and install the manual transmission regardless, and then we'll come back and slide in the drive shaft as soon as one is sourced out, and we'll take it from there. All right, just like that, that bearing is installed. Next, we're gonna clean it up and then get it ready for the clutch assembly. But of course, but we have to make sure we bolt it on nice and clean. Okay, before you mount the flywheel, you have to remove this bearing that's in here, because automatic transmissions don't need pilot bearings. They just need these shims to make sure the flex plate doesn't bend. Manual doesn't need that at all. It actually just has a solid piece in here to block it off. And we have to remove it because this is not a bearing, it's a pinion bushing type of thing. So we gotta get a puller, pull that out, and then we'll be able to install the flywheel on here. A little unorthodox, but these here were a little too short, so I had to extend it, and as I tighten this guy, it pulls the rest of it out, and I gotta say, that sucker's in there pretty tight. So just a couple more turns and it should pop loose. Alrighty. Maybe some of you guys will have better luck and be able to pull this out with regular pliers, but this one needed a puller tool to get it out. Alrighty, and as you can see, it's deep in there. Oh, there we go. Got it. So now we can continue and put the flywheel on here after we clean it up a touch, and yep, we'll be good to go. Okay, so now we're ready to lift up the transmission after we put on the clutch assembly, and you see them going hard. I don't know what they said.
Oh, the cable. The O2 sensor. I'm stuck in the O2.
Oh, really?
Take it up.
You guys are strong.
¿Pasó o no pasó? Sí, ya pasó. No, todavía. Take it down a little bit. Bájalo un poquito, gordo. Ahí. No, todavía.
So, we had to take the tranny back out. It seems that this area here was getting caught on the pilot bearing. So we took and cleaned this with a Scotch-Brite pad and made sure it's nice and polished. And I had a spare bearing to make sure it didn't get stuck. So now goes on easy, not grabbing, not catching. So before, when we put the transmission in, it would only go up to a certain point and get stuck, and we couldn't get it off. So to avoid that, make sure this is polished and clean and take it from there. So now that the transmission is in, which I'm going to show you in a couple seconds, I have this custom steel braided line, which is going to be available to Starquest members soon after beta testing is done, because this car was naturally automatic. It doesn't have the hard line from point A to point B. So I did a steel braided line custom, and I'm going to make sure it clears and fits properly and is able to be mounted so it doesn't get in the way of anything. And then once all of that beta testing is done, this item will be available for the community, and yeah, we'll take it from there. Okay, so as you can see, the transmission is in, starter's in. All of the bolts on the bottom, that being this one, and the two for the starter, and the other side at the bottom are all the same length. If they are different, you need to get them the same length. Then the two up top are short. The ones right near the back of the head, those two are short. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, we're done down here for now. We're gonna start putting in the clutch master. So we have to remove the brake fluid reservoir out of the way and this out of the way, and you'll see this is where the clutch master is supposed to go. Okay, so best approach so far is grab a Dremel with a cutoff wheel, make an X, boot, turn it the other way, buzz it, then get you a nice carbide bit and pour it until she's pretty, and take it from there. And then for the holes, top and bottom. I should be able to drill those out directly. I'm going to find out what size this is, and once I do, I'll be able to just drill it out normally. So definitely remember to port match. So it's 2 layers. There's the circular layer on the outside, and then there's another layer on the inside. It's all steel, so you have to port to match, and then after that it should be good. We're not done here yet, but we're getting closer. We're gonna fine polish some areas, and then we should be good to go to start drilling. So we will be right back. And there you have it. The hole is a hole, and now we're gonna take some bits and measure up the top hole and the bottom hole, see what sizes those are, drill it, and we're going to install the clutch pedal. Okay, the perfect size ended up being 1132. That's this one here. And of course, if you need to resize later, you'll always be able to, but I think that should do it. Let's take a look at how she did. So here she is. Everything came out perfect there. Of course, there's some cleanup that needs to happen on the inside, mainly because all of these holes were drilled from the opposite side. But excuse the wind, again, it's like 1,000 degrees here in Florida. But yeah, so this should definitely do it. This is a good base to get everything bolted in and locked down. And if you have a Dremel, you can come in with one of these bits to kind of clean it up a little bit further, which I'm gonna do. And it looks like I'm out of the actual sandpaper that goes on here, so I have to run to the store, get some of that, and yeah, clean it up, make it look pretty, make sure everything is the same diameter, clean it up on the inside, and we'll be ready to install the clutch pedal. So now it's time to put in the shifter, and immediately you could tell a difference. The hole for automatic is smaller versus the manual. The manual goes all the way up to the top of the carpet up there. So we're gonna see if we could put the shifter in as is and see what our clearances are and take it from there. But in general, shouldn't make too big of a difference, especially because the shifter is mounted mainly in the back portion anyway, so that should be good to go. So that is the finished product. Let's put that up so you can see it. Looks like it shouldn't have any issues at all, so that's good. So you're able to get the 2 bolts from here inside the car. The other 2 bolts you have to go under with a gear wrench or a regular 12mm to tighten the fronts. And that's it, that's done. And then next, we're going to prepare the clutch master. The slave has already been installed, which is pretty straightforward. 2 14mm bolts at the bottom, done. And then after that, we have the line here. And it seems it's a little bit too long by about, I want to say, almost like 22 inches or so. So back to the drawing board, but that's not going to cause an issue with what we got going on here. So it'll be able to connect, it'll hold more fluid, and be good to go. So this piece here, when you're looking at it like this needs to be facing 10 o'clock. Just a little FYI. And then also this piece, which I have to bend it, you put a hose here that is hydraulic approved, that being transmission fluid, gear oil, brake fluid. So when it says fuel line, that means it's chemical resistant. So that's perfect. So boom, we got that. We're gonna slide this in the hole, make sure that it's there and ready to assemble, and take it from there. And of course I gotta put some clamps on here, which is not a big deal. You don't want to over tighten these clamps because it's on plastic, so that's pretty self-explanatory. And yeah, so let's slide this in. Just like that. Okay, just sitting there for now. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this line and thread it onto the master, and boom, that should be it. So I'll slide this down. We got the perfect angle, 90 degree. And pop that on. I definitely need two hands, so I will be back. Okay, so there she is. A very good test fitting, making sure everything is clearing properly. And that it does. So I'm going to pull it back out and put clamps and all of the good stuff, and we're going to put in the clutch pedal, then bolt everything down. And with that being said, we're going to call it an episode right there. We're actually going to finish up some more things next episode, that being the clutch assembly, mainly putting in the third pedal. But, you know, we have more work to do, so we'll definitely get to a next episode. If you're new here, welcome. And also, if you like what you see, definitely consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon for updated notifications. And I will see you next episode. And remember, knowledge is power.